When we talk about some of the most noted subjects, issues that we're facing as an industry, it is these segments that we can not just discuss, but we'll also walk the talk with them. Talking about our next panel discussion, we will be bringing to you our retail think tank right here. It's time that we decode the new retail code, which is thriving in a fast-changing world. And who better than our next set of speakers joining us on stage to discuss some of the most vital issues right here. With great pleasure, I invite on stage our moderator who's going to put together a very balanced segment, bringing to us some diverse thoughts from our thought leaders joining us for this very special session. Please put your hands together as I welcome Mr. Anuj Puri, co-founder and chairman, Anurag, joining us here on stage with a delightful smile right here. Who better than him to moderate this session? Thank you for being here, sir. May I have the pleasure of inviting our panelists right here. Please put your hands together as I welcome Mr. Eli Haddad, founder and managing director, Beverly Hills Polo Club US. It is a privilege to have him join us for MAPIC India right here. Thank you so very much, sir, for joining us. May I please request you to welcome Mr. Vineet Gautam, CEO, Bestseller India. A round of applause for a leader who believes in creating a change today. Let's hear it up for Mr. Anil Konidena, CEO, founding director, Southeast Asia, Landmark Group, President, Director, Indonesia, and Director, Malaysia. Let's hear a warm round of applause as he steps on stage, please. My wonderful audience, please put your hands together as I present to you Mr. Tushar Wade, President, Apparel Group. Thank you so very much, sir, for being here. We look forward to listening into your views and learning from them. May I also present to you Mr. Pramod Arora, CEO, PVR INOX, someone who's known to be a game changer in the entertainment industry. It is a pleasure to have with us our think tank who will be decoding the new retail code right here. Let's look forward to this very engaging session. All yours.
Thank you very much, and very good afternoon. We've really got 24 minutes to wind up this panel discussions. Which is great because I have perhaps the best of the panelists that are here. MAPIC does a great job. I'm told this is the 20th edition of MAPIC. So, great, with the way MAPIC has been able to transform from IRF into this brilliant show. Great job, guys. And, great to have such a great line of panelists here with me. I'm going to be quick. Given that we've only got sort of 24 odd minutes, and I would request if you can also be crisp with your answers. I'm going to start, Vineet, perhaps with you. You're amongst the most smartest looking men that I have seen, and certainly his beard tempts a lot of us to kiss him, but we have to be careful not to do that. So Vineet, my first one is the growth story that you've had from 15 stores over to 1,600 stores. In the age where everybody is saying is that online shopping is going to be creating trouble, how do you tackle having grown so rapidly on the physical stores with the onslaught from the online?
Thank you, Anuj, and thank you, MAPIC, and thank you for the compliment also. I'll take it as a compliment. I think India is a great story, and India is not a story of 10 cities, 20 cities, it is hundreds of cities. And I think that is where early on, we were one of the early adapters of online, and we didn't think it is a competition, we think it is a complementing channel. If you look at few years back in India, distribution was a very large channel. People will go with distributors, retail in many small mom and pop shops. And I think that business over the years have gone down. So we've looked at online from distribution perspective, and we look at retail from our brand experience perspective. And hence, today we are one of the largest distributed brands. And I'll give you example of Jack & Jones. We sell from about 2,000 shop fronts in this country.
Wow.
And that's the scale of what Jack & Jones has been able to build. But online itself also contributes to that and is growing. Both sides are growing. So what we've done is we have a product differentiated story for retail and a very differential product story for online. While online in India context is a lot more discounted, Hence, it's almost more like a channel which is more a clearance channel, but it's changing. So the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of change. And retail is where consumers want to go and try new product, try the brand, experience matters a lot. And hence, that's the two big differentiation that we create. But our customer service promise remains the same. What we stand for in Jack and Jones or Vermoda only is the same that we stand for in retail and online. So I think that's what we've tried to do from that other perspective. The other thing that we've done is amalgamation of technology. So even if you are in the remotest part of the country, you can get the same catalog. Not from today, 5 years back also, the same catalog that we have in our Linking Road flagship store. So I think we've used mix of channel and technology to ensure that we are still ahead on the game. And I think online is not a threat, it is an opportunity.
Interesting, very interesting. Before I move to Pramod, Vineet, I'm going to ask you one fun question. If you could style one Bollywood celebrity, exclusively in your bestseller brands, who would that be?
So I think we've had many celebrities, and I think the best was that we could dress up Ranveer Singh for many years. But if you ask,
That is amazing, yeah.
Yeah, we could dress him up for 5 continuous years. We've had Ananya Pandey for only. I think one celebrity that I today think really needs a wardrobe makeover, and we love to do it, is Vicky Kaushal.
Sorry, one more I'm quickly going to ask. One absolute quality that you wish your employees had?
I think more resilience. I think that's something which is very important in a country of context of India. More resilience. Rest they all possess all the quantities. Sumit is already looking at me, so.
Pramod, I'm going to come to you. As a CEO of a top cinema chain, how do you see the future of cinemas? Given that we've had a little bit of challenge and evolution in this category, going forward, how do you see the future?
OTT has been a question which always comes up in these sessions. And I have been saying the same thing repeatedly, that it's a word of collaborative convergence. The collaborative convergence was a reality yesterday also. And today, it's basically accelerating at a faster pace. What really happened was the pandemic actually added fuel to it. That's the positive side of pandemic. So it helped the collaborative convergence step up quickly and probably accelerate a few years earlier, which is a great thing. So what's not really been seen is that how does this collaborative convergence between OTT, which is more like in-home entertainment, converge with out-of-home entertainment. So what's really been happening is that you see the long form of content being watched on OTT and the short form of content, which is the feature films, being watched on the big screen. So the jump over is, it's my personal opinion, the jump over is going to happen sooner than later, wherein you will find, some of the feature films coming on the OTT faster and the long form of content coming onto the cinema. So typically, if I was to suggest that, this soap opera is great, so either the first episode is available on the cinemas and then only can you watch the next one at your home, or the last mega climax is only available on a cinema. Perhaps the consumer would end up watching it.
What a great
now
thought. What a great
that's
thought.
a possibility which could be a figment of imagination today, but could become a reality tomorrow, which would be a great example of a collaborative convergence. So, that's what I see when it's compared to OTT. The newer avatar of cinemas, as people are speaking about, see, it's going to be more immersive, more engaging, more experiential. When we use these words, it all amounts to the fact that the consumer is going to be more empowered. He's going to see more reality than, the whole word of fiction, which used to be the yesteryear's film houses or cinemas. So the newer cinemas are all about engagement. It's all about immersion. And you will see esports, gaming, street fashion vents. I'm not going to fight out there, but it will be only experiential side. Potentially, Vineet could suggest that, hey, let me have a e-retail option or a digital retail option in your cinema, wherein perhaps I can represent it better using even the screen as well as the foyers, and then everything is happening on the e-trade. Now, that's going to become a reality sooner than later when these meccas or these spaces which remain today in some cases as NPAs becoming really great performing assets.
Yes, I agree.
That's what it could be typically an opinion which is held far from the industry, but I do believe it is going to become a reality soon.
Pramod, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Uh, if I was to go back in time, I would just split this question in two. If to my younger self, uh, perhaps I was not so secured in my thinking process, else I would have been a better entrepreneur than on being on the other side of the fence. So that could have perhaps been a better option. Something which you could see on a growth or an expansion model wherein you could run the numbers probably at that time on a Lotus 1, 2, 3 instead of an Excel did show you the same resultant output. So, that is to my younger self, which the other side is that how should the younger generation, wherein, resilience was touched by Vineet,
I
and
agree.
that's something that I find to be an amiss amongst the Gen Z
Yes.
people today when I see them, the
Yes.
younger lot of
Yes.
companies which are coming up. Somewhere, the word passion is today as much relatable as it was yesterday. If your profession or your career move or your business move is running parallel to your passion, you're going to lose in life. A lot of people, when I meet them, they tell them that my passion is to make money. Then you be a money manager. Even if I invest my money into you, you got to make double of that money. You become a good money manager. If you are in the business of airplanes, you have to have a passion for airplanes. Then only would the money basically flow. Perhaps the money would flow. It's not, if your business model is smart, the money would flow. But you cannot say that I love a business of airplane and I'm passionate about money. No, that's not convergence. And that would basically lead to one option is that you could be a very rich and an extremely sad guy living alone in the world. Something that should have worked for you, which is money, is what you are working for. The whole life you ended up working for money and then you could not take it up.
Beautifully spoken, guys. A big round of applause on that, yeah. What a great thought on that. One quick other one. Best retail concept globally, which you would want to bring in India?
It's a difficult one.
I was going to ask Tushar this. He would have said Kafo. That's it.
It's basically, you want to know in the retail side or on the entertainment side?
Retail side.
Retail side. Give me a while to basically think about it.
Done. Absolutely. Tushar, I'm going to come to you. With the apparel group, you have sold...
Sorry, I'll just take this. Okay, for me, Abercrombie and Fitch, which may not be doing so well today, for me, that's basically the perfect convergence of theatrics with a brand.
Yes.
Which I used to love when during my younger days, I used to look at the store and those girls and boys standing outside and the six packs really being visible and then that t-shirt being worn by the guy. Well, that was inspirational. For me, that was theatrics being represented in fashion to such an extent that it could become a reality. And perhaps, who knows, if they come in back again with a force, they could be a brand which becomes really relevant today.
True. Tushar, in the apparel group, you manage all multiple international brands. What are the key challenges? Because these all brands have different strategies that you work in. And, what are the challenges to ensure success of each of these brands, given that the strategy of each of the international brands that you have in your repertoire is very different?
The most important thing is align with the brand vision. What is their brand vision? How are they going to market the brand in India? What are they looking from India, right? What are they looking to achieve from India? We operate currently about 12 brands in India, but as a group, we operate 85 brands. There's a Chinese wall between each of the brands. So I think that is required because each brand thinks very differently, operates very differently. We have brands which have a push model. A push model is where they push in the product every week by air. And then we have brands which supply stock every month. And then we have brands which have 4 seasons. Every quarter, there will be a new product coming in. Some brands we have to buy. Some brands we have to, get the product by air. So it is very different. All categories are different. The challenge a lot of time happens to explain the brand what India needs, right? There are brands which are 80% if they are winter wear, and they want to come to India, and we say, listen, you can only open stores in the north. We don't have snow, except in Kashmir and the top. But we don't have infrastructure there to build today, to build a retail store there. You'll be very limited to what you do. Another thing that is needed, and what we do is do not change the DNA of the brand. A lot of people come in and say, you know what, you're selling footwear, I want you to start selling innerwear or jackets. It doesn't work. You're a footwear company. I can tell you what works in India, what is the climate in India, what percentage of stock is needed for that. So these are challenges that we face. A lot of brands we reject because of that. I cannot change their DNA, and we are never going to do that. But they need to understand the Indian market is very different. There are brands who come in and say, I want to open 500 stores. I'm like, why would you want to open 500 stores? Oh, your population is 1.4 billion. And, in New York, we have 200 stores. The population is so much. I'm like, listen, land at 5 in the morning and see the population of Mumbai. Let me take you to 2-3 malls in Mumbai. Then you come and tell me how many stores you want. I think the reality of India is very different than what is shown on television and what they look at it. So the challenge is basically making them understand the Indian market.
And it is contrary to what my thinking was. I thought that it is going to be all about localization. But you're saying is it has to be true to the brand, what they stand for. Tushar, if we had an opportunity to peek in your wardrobe, it'll be interesting. What's one item of clothing or accessory that might surprise us?
I have a Tim Hortons winter jacket. Right? And it's still there with me. This is a story I would like to share. I landed, when we started Tim Hortons in Dubai, and I went for the training, and we would have regular meetings, and it was minus 25, okay, in Toronto. I landed, and the guy was standing there with a Tim Hortons coffee and a Tim Hortons return jacket. And after wearing that jacket, you'll start sweating because the jacket was made for minus 20 or 40 degrees. Right? And that is still in my wardrobe. I still carry it if I go to Canada because Canada is much more colder than the US. So that's still in my jacket. So that's something that still surprises me. I have a Tim Hortons black colored jacket with a Tim Hortons return on it.
My last one, Tushar. Positivity, hard work, or passion? What drives you?
What drives me?
Positivity, hard work, or passion? What drives you more?
I would say all, but being positive, I think, is the most important.
Yeah,
First,
absolutely.
you have to believe in it. You have to say it can happen. And, I see a lot of people, they drain energy. I met somebody yesterday. I just walked off because they're draining my energy. Right? If you're going to be negative, and, I'm sorry, but, I tell people, India is growing. You have to be in India to believe it, to see it. You cannot make judgments or you cannot make statements sitting outside India. You have to see what is happening on the ground. You have to be positive about it. We entered India in 2010. 2001, I moved in India in 2010, right? And I came with a very different mindset, but it took a long time. But positive is the first thing you need to be. Everything else will happen. Thank you.
Anil, interesting to have you on this panel. You are the CEO, founding director for Southeast Asia for the Landmark Group. And given your exposure and experience working in Southeast Asia, how does retail in India compare to those markets?
Very different, but there are obviously learnings and opportunities. But before I go on that, let me thank Mapic for getting me here. My first experience of a retail conference environment in India, world class.
Absolutely, I agree with you. It's world class. What Mapic has done a phenomenal job, guys. Big round of applause, at least to the audience
World
who's
class.
sitting in here and what they have been able to deliver.
Yeah, and my 10, 15 minutes time was spent just before coming up here with you and with the gentleman here and Tushar. And well, in those 15 minutes, I can give a strategy for $1 billion right now. Right? So that's the kind of work experience and creative experience we have on the stage. So thank you for making me part of it. All right, so I'll try and bring convergence in this conversation in a triangulated model, right? Market structure, consumer behavioral economics. I'm not getting into economic structure, but consumer behavior economics and product trends. Right. Market structure, India for the last 20, 25 years has been leapfrogging. I mean, I would say every time we take a quantum leap. Right. So we may not have as much time as some other evolved markets have had in Southeast Asia to transition from purely physical to physical digital. Now, in this process, the customer acquisition cost, customer retention costs, and repeat costs will be high. And hence, we keep seeing these negative P&Ls even after $1.5 billion. So that's a market structure issue. Now, would we not want to quantum leap into technology? Of course we won't. So I guess this is a thing that one has to look at from a structural perspective. On the structural perspective, the occupancy cost in India, other than Singapore, is the highest compared to Southeast Asia. Yeah. So from that perspective, it is a high-cost entry point and largely physical. And hence, it will take a little longer for your return on investment here while compared to Southeast Asia, because Southeast Asia had a 25, 30-year run on physical retail before digital came in. Right. On the consumer behavior perspective, in most cities of Southeast Asia, most cities, I'm not just talking about capital cities, the discretionary spend, which basically is on fashion and experiential spends, is almost about 40, 50% of their income. Because the cost of living, if you're a local, right, and cost of education is significantly lower than what we have here. And hence, though the populations are smaller there, their per capita spending ability is significantly higher.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I guess in some of the cities is happening in India. But obviously, we will prioritize homes and just to give an example, I can't think of a country other than Singapore, and Singapore is a different story altogether, other than Singapore, where automobiles are more expensive than India, they're all cheaper. Running a car is cheaper. Yes. A decent meal is cheaper than majority of our cities in India. And hence you have a little more disposable income on changing your fashion more frequently, right? There are regulatory issues in some countries like Indonesia and Vietnam, but market structure for Malaysia, for example, one has to be either stupid or arrogant to lose money. You know, so it's easier that way. And the third aspect which I want to talk about is product. Now, Southeast Asian most markets had almost a 20-year lead on India on international fashion. Most brands that came to India have already been in Southeast Asia and they've evolved beyond it. Local brands have been developed, like for example, in Malaysia, locally grown value fashion brand, within the same group, they have two $200 million brands for just 33 million population. While that opportunity I see now is significantly surging in India. I mean, why shouldn't India have a 10, 15 billion dollar brands and above, product brands,
True.
right? The other opportunity I see in product expansion really is Southeast Asia also does synthetics. They consume almost 40, 50% of their total consumption comes from synthetic fabrics, while India still largely is organic cotton, which obviously puts pressure on productivity and recycling and stuff like that. So that's another, I would think, an opportunity. I've been traveling a little bit in Tirupur and Coimbatore. I can see a whole lot of innovation there on how to bring in synthetics into organic models. So those are the differences. One more, I would say, Southeast Asia is easy to absorb because every country is independent, political differences, currencies. But India, maybe we ignore the fact that, like Tushar was mentioning, it's a multi-experiential country. India is a world, not a country.
Beautifully put. It is the world, not a country.
It's a world, not a... In Madras, I can wear single layer all my life, eat sambar, happy, but I can't live like that in Delhi. I can't live like that in Kolkata. I can't live like that in Assam. And hence, when we try and forcibly fit a straight jacket into various markets of India, obviously we will see some issues there, right?
And a quick one. If you had the ability to reset the brand, your brand, would you do anything differently?
No, okay, let me put it in perspective. Baby Shop, we only launched about 6 years ago in Malaysia, and we're already bigger than, we are the biggest international baby brand in Malaysia in just 6 years. Right. So I don't know if I want to reset that.
Okay, yes.
We're already cash positive in Max in Indonesia, in Malaysia. Sorry, Indonesia is still an evolving business. So I don't really know whether they want. We do things very differently in our group. We take quick actions, though I would like a little more strategy than just operational intensity. So I don't know if I can reset. But one thing I would say, in the last 25 years, India became the largest populated country in the world. And we don't see many baby segment brands in the country. When we produced the highest number of kids in the world, that I think was a missed bus for everyone in the industry, not just for us.
Thank you. Mr. Ali Haddad, you're the founder and managing director of a very well-known brand called as Beverly Hills Polo Club. Thank you for joining us on the panel. My first question to you is that what has been the most surprising discovery about the Indian consumer?
First, I want to thank MAPIC for allowing me to address the platform and the convention. Thank you for that. As far as the greatest surprise of the Indian market, my God, the consumers here are so demanding, so demanding of fashion, okay?
I think all the panelists here would agree to that.
It is absolutely beyond, because of three things. Your fine tradition of textiles, your love of color, which you celebrate different holidays such as Holi, okay? And then the tailoring tradition, okay, of India. You put those three together and wow, across a broad region of different tastes and cultures, okay? How do you stock a store? How do you stock a store with fashion? That's an incredible challenge. It's very demanding. And the strategy for dealing with that is to go slowly and test and innovate. Test and innovate. Test and innovate until you can offer the Indian fashion consumer something so compelling that they can't say no. And I think after years of testing and innovating with our franchisee partner, Apparel Group, and I must acknowledge Tushar's presence, we're ready to make it happen. They helped us make it happen in the GCC, where in over 5 years we have 140 stores, and we dominate primarily men's fashion, and now we're beginning to dominate women's fashion. But India, the Apparel Group is now ready for the challenge of India. Okay, they've made major investments, and we are ready to expand with them rapidly here in the fashion clothing sector.
Beautifully said. My second and final question to you is, reflecting on your journey, with Beverly Hills Polo Club, what's the most significant lesson that you have learned about leadership in retail?
The most significant lesson of leadership in retail? First of all, make sure you pick the right partners. Make sure that their values are aligned. We spoke about values, and we also previously heard about passion, okay? Once the values are aligned, okay, the passion can come into play. And the sky's the limit when the chemistry is correct. We started here, actually in India, in fashion about 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
Okay, and the chemistry with our partners at the time was not aligned. And the passion and the integrity was not aligned. Okay. And unfortunately, the space that we wanted, someone else jumped in and grabbed a big piece of it. But that doesn't intimidate us now. We feel we're in the best position to do a large expansion in clothing with our franchisee Apparel Group. And we're also looking for joint venture partnerships in other venues. This convention opened with a presentation on opportunities for home. We already developed in Europe a very fine presentation of fashions for home. We also have a fragrance and beauty business that we're looking for equity partners. And we also have venues in entertainment and in leisure activity that play into our theme of the club, the Beverly Hills Polo Club. We're not about aspiration in a elitist sense. We're really about aspiration for the upper middle classes as they celebrate personal accomplishment and life experiences. And that's where the brand's extensions are so ripe for the Indian consumer.
Thank you very much. It's been really enjoyable to speak with all of you. I know time's up, and we had only 25 minutes. I had a ton more questions to ask all our panelists. But it does appear that India continues to remain on a very positive trajectory as far as the consumption is concerned. And these all are premium retailers sitting in here. And clearly premium retail, luxury retail continues to do exceptionally well in India. Thank you very much once again for coming in here. And a big round of applause to our panelists. Thank you, and I'll hand it over back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Puri. Trust him to have a fantastic panel discussion, even in those 25 minutes. A round of applause for all our panelists. To thank you all personally. We have a question from my wonderful audience. I know that we are out of time, but with your permission, if we may please take this question up, and we would love to hear. I'm sure our panelists will be happy to address the same.
It will be very brief. Good afternoon, sirs. My very simple question is, I'm here as a participant, but I am finding very few of the developers displaying here. Indian market possibly is going to be the largest in India in terms of demands. हमारे पास करीब 80 करोड़ की young population, like Beverly Hills was telling, 80 crores. And we don't like, मुझको नहीं लगता कि हम geared up हैं इनकी डिमांड को मीट करने के लिए. Are we ready? With few of developers, few of brands, are we really ready for next 5 years?
I think is that we'll probably have to answer this over lunch. Because this is going to be a very long answer.
It's very open-ended indeed. Thank you so much. And to thank you all, may I please welcome Mr. Salil Kumar, Director, CRC Group. And we have a very, very special token of appreciation for all of you all here. To do the honors, may I please welcome Mr. Salil Kumar, as we have something that's going back with you. So a round of applause right here, sir. And like you said, that a discussion that we'll take forward. May I please request you to present this to Mr. Haddad. Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you so very much. We'd also like to present Mr. Vineet Gautam with a beautiful portrait and a token of appreciation. May I request for Mr. Anil Kanidena's portrait as well, please. A very thoughtful gift out there. May I please request for the portrait of Mr. Anil Konidena right here. Requesting you all to please stay on. We'd also like to appreciate Mr. Tushar Ved. I'd also like to request all of you to please put your hands together for Mr. Pramod Arora. May I also welcome Ms. Reema Punya to join us on stage for a group picture. And we have a wonderful gift. Let's have a group photograph together. Let's have a group photograph together. A few of our panelists have a flight to catch, and we would hate to be the reason for the delay. Requesting all of you to please step forward. And a big thank you to Mr. Salil Kumar and the CRC group for honoring our panelists right here. I'd also like to request Mr. Puri to please present a token of appreciation to all our moderators. Requesting Ms. Punya to stay on stage for a little bit longer. And to my wonderful guests, please do take a seat. We have yet another fantastic panel up next, as Mr. Puri presents each of our panelists with a wonderful memento. And may I request Ms. Punya to please present a memento to our moderator.